they've been fooled by their eyes and have missed the whole picture of it. Are you familiar with Khalil Gibran?
Yes.
He wrote a book. He wrote The Prophet, in 1923, but he wrote another book called Sand and Foam. In that book, he told a story of a man who had been away from his family for 4 months working, and he was excited to come home. And as he was coming home, he knew that the mountain, when he saw the mountain, that he was close to home. So his 5 senses started having a conversation, and his eyes says, I see a mountain, I see a mountain, I see a mountain. And so the ears perked out and said, I don't hear a mountain. The nose sniffed and said, I don't smell a mountain. The tongue tasted the air. I don't taste a mountain. And the other 4 senses started speaking among themselves, and they came to the conclusion that there must be something the matter with the eye because they couldn't perceive it. But all of these things, we've been misled just because we've been fooled by our senses. Our eyes see 0.05% of the entire electromagnetic wave. We're blind cosmically, but we judge everything by what we see. And they've done that with science for so many years. You look at
Now, in the book that followed, I know there was an appendix to the special relativity.
Yes, and that was in the 60s, and I wrote a book on special relativity with an appendix which I devoted to perception, and I said that there was an analogy between perception and the way relativity treated things, that you couldn't, according to relativity, everything was related to the way that you interacted with it to observe it, you see, and also according to quantum mechanics. Right? Now, see, the point about perception is that it's a dynamic process, that we are constantly doing things and then seeing what happens, right? Handling objects and seeing what happens, or move. Everything must move. The eyeball must move in order to show light, to show form. And it's an active process. Right? Now, suppose we say we are looking at a circular object, solid, and as we walk around it, it really looks like an ellipse. An artist draws it that way, with perspective. But we know by now that there are different appearances of the circle. We say really it's a circle which is solid, right?
Yeah.
So we could say the ellipse is their appearance and the circle is the essence, right? But then scientists came along and said that's only an appearance too, because the circle is made of a lot of atoms. It's really mostly empty space, atoms moving there. And therefore the atoms are the essence. Huh?
I see.
So, but then others, later on, they came along and said these atoms are made of smaller objects. They're mostly empty space. Atoms too are appearances. And then these smaller objects were found to be made of quarks and so on. There were electrons and protons then made of quarks, and then they said these are fields. And see, they're looking for a theory of everything, but it keeps on receding, right? In other words, so I say that this suggests to me that everything is, even our thoughts are fundamentally appearances, how things appear to the mind, right? And we combine, by combining many views of the object, we understand the object. Say in the stereoscope, 2 views give 3 dimensions. Is that clear?
Yeah.
So by combining many views of the circle, of this object, we get the notion it's a circle. By combining it with the scientific view, we get another view on it, a circle which is made of atoms. But then another view is that the atoms are constituted of smaller particles and so on. The more views we get that we can integrate and make coherent, the deeper our understanding of the reality is, right? But I say the reality, the essence would be called the true being. That really we never get hold of, right? It's unlimited. Everything, every view is limited. It's like a mirror looking this way. Many mirrors. Each one gives a view, a limited view. Right? But see, so I said theories don't give final true knowledge. They give a way of looking. The very word theoria, in Greek means theater, same root. It's sort of a theater of the mind that gives insight into the thing. Right? And therefore, you can say that fundamentally science is involved in a perceptual enterprise, not primarily in gaining knowledge, though knowledge appears, but knowledge is a byproduct. And by understanding the thing, you can coherently, then our contact with it, as long as it is coherent, it shows that our understanding is correct. You see, we must distinguish between correct appearances and incorrect appearances or illusory. Right? Now, if an appearance is correct, it is in some way related to the reality, but it's evidently not the reality. The ellipses, if we understand their meaning, are a correct appearance to the eye. Right? Though it's not an ellipse, it's still correct.
So are you suggesting that this is an inherent aspect of the thinking process?
Yes, that's right, of our whole perceptual process. Our thinking process should be called an extension of our perception when done rightly.
I see, of course.
And not primarily the accumulation of knowledge which we put into various records. We see reality according to our thought. And therefore thought is constantly participating both in giving shape and form and figuration to ourselves and to the whole of reality, right? Now, but thought doesn't know this. Thought is thinking that it isn't doing anything. I think this is really where the difficulty is, that we have got to see that thought is part of this reality. So the first thing we have to do in the long run is to look at our whole way of thinking, which has developed over so many thousands of years. I don't think it was the original way of thinking of the human race at all, but for many complex reasons it came about. Now, that means that people have to make they have to participate, to make a cooperative effort, to have a dialogue, a real dialogue in which we will not merely exchange opinions, but actually listen deeply to the views of other people without resistance. And we cannot do this if we hold to our own opinion and resist the other. It doesn't mean we should accept the other, but we have to be able to look at all the opinions as suspended, as it were, in front of us, without carrying them out, without suppressing them.